Hey, this is Jake Wesley Rogers, and I'm hanging out with Rob at Front Row Live.
Congratulations with your recent signing with Warner. Before we really dive into the music, I'm curious what your experience was when you got to perform for them in that conference room to kind of present to the label who you really are as an artist.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that I'm grateful for now. Is that was 3 weeks before it happened. So I feel like I snuck into like the tail end of being able to perform for people who would be able to open doors for me. So I'm grateful for that. But performing is kind of my go-to happy place. So I if there's one thing I believe in myself, it's that if I sit down at a piano in front of people, I can perform, and it felt great. And we were just, we're in a conference room, we're in like an office, but I think for that 10-minute performance, it didn't feel like I was in an office.
What was it about Warner that made you want to say yes to this opportunity? Just because, being signed to a record label is also something that you want to be comfortable with. You want it to be the right fit. So what was it about this label that made you feel comfortable about the whole situation?
Yeah, well, I signed to a label under Warner called Facet Records, which is owned and operated by Justin Tranter, who I've always looked up to as a songwriter and activist and artist. And I think it's being on their label that really clicked with me, just because of everything they stand for and all of the work they've done outside of even music and songwriting, that I knew that my vision would be able to be executed, because it's pretty recent that my story and my narrative has been backed by major labels, and that I've been able to be open in the full capacity and have a label saying like, yes, you can do that. So I immediately just felt safe, and then to have Warner behind the label is just, it's been amazing so far.
Now, as a songwriter, as you kind of mentioned, like this is the first time that more people, more major names, more labels are able to back this. So for you as a songwriter, kind of discovering your identity as an artist, how much of an impact did that have on your music career and the music that you'd be writing today?
Well, I finished writing the album a day after signing, so the writing was already happening. The writing was already happening, and in fact, I think that's kind of what opened the door in the first place. Is that I was writing these songs when no one was listening, because it's kind of what I have to do as a human to get through the day. So I think the only difference now, I come from a really scrappy background. I'm used to making music videos with like $3 and making it work. And I think the difference now is I know how to stretch $1, and I think to have, I guess, to have a budget and backing now, I just don't feel like I'm wasting it, and that's a good feeling. Like I feel like I've had to sacrifice certain things, and now I have to sacrifice less, but I still feel like I'm like kind of pushing it within the parameters I'm given. And then as far as like the actual music and recording, it opens doors to working with producers that I probably wouldn't have been able to meet or afford or whatever, and just to kind of like make sure these songs have a chance and like really have a life and survive and live in the world beautifully. Because I think music, I mean, any art form has its own soul, and I just feel like I was able to put a lot of life force into the soul of these songs, because of it. But it's not necessary. I mean, I'll tell you that. Like, one can write a song. It was like me writing songs 10 years ago in my room. when no one cared. It's like the songs are still happening. It's just like they're kind of getting the full treatment now, which is cool.
So let's jump in and talk about Momentary, which is the new single. Off the bat, your vocals are just incredible. And you have this way of grabbing the listener's attention and having them come into your story and having them come in and listen to the entire story. With this song in particular, I fell in love with your voice, and I don't even know what to call it, but it's like you have this rumble in your voice throughout the song that it just makes me feel the emotion that you're emoting out of your music. Talk to me a little bit about that and kind of discovering that uh, that way of singing, and how much of a challenge was it for this song in particular?
Hmm. Thank you, Rob. I don't know. Singing's kind of always been the easy part for me, like the part that I can't help but doing. I mean, obviously, I say that, but it's also, it takes, I've been doing vocal lessons since I was young, and all that's great, but I feel like most people know that there are a lot of good singers, right? Like we've had 400,000 seasons of American Idol and The Voice. But I think my favorite singers are not the ones with the most technically beautiful voices, but the ones that you believe them. Um, and when I sing, I make sure whatever I'm singing, I believe, and it's coming from like a deeper place, especially in Momentary. Like there's a lot of things about that song that make me emotional. It's on one hand a love song, on one hand kind of a tribute to queer heroes, and on the other hand like a tribute to my inner child and my grandparents who were dying, and like all this stuff kind of going into it. So I feel like that was all kind of woven into the fabric of the performance.
Did you know you were writing this song, or were you in a session with Justin and Aaron, and all of a sudden this song kind of started to peek out and have its own identity?
Yeah, this one was definitely a surprise. The best ones are, because they come from the heart instead of the mind. And yeah, it we listened to we didn't start the fire. Is that the one that dun 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 Peter Pan? It's just I'm someone's gonna watch this and be like, why doesn't this person know this? I'm just kind of starting to go down different rabbit holes. But like the list of like all these like characters were so interesting, and I was like, well, what if it was more of like a queer list? And that's kind of how that happened. And then the line, I think I sang, I thought that love would set me free, and then Justin said it was momentary. I was like, whoa, like that. That's like a life motto. Like everything is impermanent, even the good things. And we if we over identify with anything, really, if we over identify with anything that is just gonna die, then it'll kill us. So it's just about finding like it's far off. I don't know. It's about finding like peace in the moment, right? In each moment, because like the future doesn't exist and the past doesn't really exist. Like the only thing that exists is right now. So that's kind of what it feels like to me. Not to get on like a mindfulness soapbox. I don't know how that happened.
I can only imagine what that session was like as you guys were writing the song. But the fact that you have been able to write with Justin a couple times already, as well as Aaron Kanata, how different is that process when you guys get into the studio? And you can even talk about, particular with the song, like how different is that process now that you have that experience? And at the same time, I feel like you guys are more, the three of you are more comfortable with each other, so you can be as honest, as brutal as possible.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think, and we all are kind of in our we stay within our lanes, but we branch out to challenge one another. And Justin was pretty clear from the beginning, like we don't have to write together. Like they still wanted to sign me and do it, but we just write really well together. And I think we come from a similar source with our lyrics. I remember writing Momentary, and like we wrote the Marsha P, Harvey Milk, Oscar Wilde line. And I remember Justin said, like, no one is writing this. And I kind of zoomed back and was like, yeah, like, you're right. I didn't have the song when I was a kid. That is at the same time kind of like an overview and also like a love song and all this. And I don't know, I'm very inside myself when I'm writing. And I feel like the best moments with Aaron and Justin are when I kind of lose myself and go in a little bit of a trance, and they're there to kind of mirror it and speak when something is said that is perhaps could be something. And then just build on top of it. And Aaron is so musically intuitive. My other song, Middle of Love, like my favorite part of the song was Aaron's idea. It's like the pre-chorus where it's like I. Like that was totally 100% Aaron's idea, and I was like, oh, that's incredible. And it's wordless because I think we try to like, you know, paint these pictures with words, but you really don't need them in order to paint an image. So yeah, I just feel like the three of us, like, and we wrote a lot of the album together. And it's just fun, and I just love them. Like I just love, like, yeah, we write together well, but we also just hang out, and that's the best too, when you don't want to kill the people you're working with.
During this process of this song or even your upcoming EP, like, did you find you yourselves recreating or creating new sounds for your music just from scratch, from the most obscure things?
That's a good question. I mean, a lot of it just started with me on piano, really. Actually, I think every single one of the songs just started with me on piano. I kind of joke that like all my songs are ballads, but some are just faster. And I think it's true though. I think there might be a point in my life where I like start with a track or start with whatever, but at this point, it's for some reason it's easier for me to channel when I'm just sitting at the piano and just singing my ass off, and then we add stuff from there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of. It's funny because we made the demos, right, and then I went and recorded them with Mike Crossy, which was totally just like a just different, exciting electric time to like sitting with these songs for so long and kind of like their safe little box, and then just like cracking them open and starting fresh, which is the versions that y'all hear. And I can get very attached to demos, so it can be a bit intimidating, but I still have the demos. Sometimes I listen back to demos, and it's just fun to like see kind of where they end up. But yeah.
And what was your experience with Mike Crossy as far as like production goes, and how do you feel he challenged you to become a better artist and a better vocalist as you were recording these songs?
I mean, Mike Crossy has one of the most intuitive ears I've ever witnessed, and just like the things he caught and catches and the subtleties. Like, I like track piano, and then we just kind of I'd be just sitting there, and he'd be tweaking it, and then he'd be like, "All right, and he'd like A B something," and it'd be the tiniest difference. But he's like, "Do you hear that? This one's more warm." I'm like, yeah, actually, that, and it's just like this little thing that really matters. And I don't have the passion for finding it myself. So working with him, who completely goes in the weeds on all of it, and we recorded a lot of vocals. Like it was clear on all of these songs that vocals were like number one. Everything else was just kind of like supporting the vocals, and he, what I love, because sometimes you work with producers and they like, you're recording vocals and you like look in the booth and they're like on their phone or something and you're like, what the hell, man? But like he was like in there, or he was like walking around the room like floating. It was like we were performing together in a way. And I just felt very safe there and in communion with like vocals or bus. Like so yeah, Mike is a very, very special person.
As you've been able to release Middle of Love and now Momentary, and have seen the reaction that you've been getting from fans and just music fans around the world, how or what kind of impact did that play to your upcoming material that you're working on for the EP? Did you feel like you ended up going back and rewriting things because you were inspired to do different songs than you already had, or like do you feel it had any impact on you?
I mean, everything's already kind of recorded for this next iteration. I think we're sticking with the plan because the plan still feels great. I don't even know if I'm allowed to like talk about the next song, but it's one of my favorite things I've ever made in my life. And it's just thrilling that we've been able to kind of build it up organically, and we'll just be able to keep releasing these things. Because like I said, like I had finished kind of writing a whole project last September. And it's just like it's growing organically, and it's like coming out at the perfect time, I feel. So as far as like going back to the drawing board, I really haven't. I'm not like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm. Can I swear? I'm
You're
sorry.
good. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I was like, I don't. Yeah, I haven't had a moment where like, oh, I need to like beat this, because I'm more just like, I'm so excited for this song to come out, and then after this is beat, I'm like, I'm excited for that stuff to come out. So I'm actually, yeah, I haven't been writing a lot lately, but next thing will happen at some point.
But that's exciting to hear from a from a music fan perspective. That's exciting to hear that you've had these songs with you for so long already, and you're still as excited as you were when you first wrote it. So I feel like a lot of times, by the time artists are able to release, they've heard it too many times, or they that era has already gone by. But the fact that you're equally as excited is amazing to hear. Now, as far as the recording process as a whole, what would you say has been the biggest challenge thus far, either with the songs that you've released so far or just the EP as a whole?
I mean, one of the most like practical challenges was in recording. Like I would during, because I was flying to LA like in January, and I would for 10 days, and it was like my only job not to get which I'm kind of like a monk at heart, so like being able to sit in a room with my books and not get was like, now going to LA, now that I'm and everything, it's like I can fly in and like start working the next day, and I'm like, oh, I kind of miss that. I don't miss that, but I miss like my job being sitting in a room. But anyway, other than that, I think the challenge is to spend so many of the demos had so much life in them, especially the vocal performances. Because oftentimes when you write the song the day you like record the demo, it's like it's a really special take, and it's rarely like good enough quality to be like the final take, and you get so attached to that. Specifically Middle of Love, like I loved my demo vocal on that, but it was just we had to do it again, but you just kind of trust that you can recreate the magic. And I think sometimes with Space it just does that, because we wrote it in February of 2020 and then didn't record it until November of the same year. So there's time, and I don't know, I feel like some of the reason I'm still excited about all these things is because like I forget about, like, I'll write it and then forget about it and then record it and then forget about it and then do the music video, and it's like, oh, this has a total different meaning. And then it comes out in the world and you see it through other people's eyes, and you like get excited about it in different ways, and you start like hearing it in different ways, and people reach out and be like, oh, this part of the song meant something to me. So I haven't like, I have yet to regret any of these songs that have come out. And it's still fresh. I mean, it just started coming out like about a month ago.
Yeah. I mean, you're still, it's funny because you're still a new artist, even though you've been working on this for so long, but like to the majority of the world, because now you have this major label backing, you're still this like new artist. And it's also amazing just because you know, for me personally, I feel like there's obviously it's not new artists being born every single day because a lot of these people or musicians have been doing this for years, but it's nice to get a fresh new piece of music, a fresh new vocal, a fresh new artist in general.
Hmm.
So I'm very excited to hear everything else that you have going on. Now, before we do wrap this up, my last question would be, as far as your fashion goes, how crucial is your fashion to your music, and what inspires your fashion?
Oh, I mean, it's like I am a musician first, but like the fashion is the visuals are a close number two. Because I grew up like in middle school, it was like all Gaga. Like Gaga was everything to me. And I get compared to Elton John a lot, which makes sense because I am gay and wear glasses and play piano. Um, but my influence is mainly Gaga, and obviously Gaga was very influenced by Elton and Madonna and all that. So it's kind of this kind of like transitive property influence that I love. And I mean, visuals actually always pretty much lead the music for me. Like the last two projects I've made, I've had a mood board before I'd written most of the songs. At least I kind of know if I know what it's gonna look like. I usually can find out what it sounds like. And a lot of this music, it was very 70s, bright primary color, shiny, uh, pastel. Like it just kind of manifested, and then it all comes together and it's really satisfying. And I love it. Like I love making music videos. Like that's been like one of the most fun parts about signing this deal, was like making proper music videos without a shoestring budget. It's just been thrilling. It's still not a big budget, but still, like, again, I was used to like calling some random person on Craigslist asking them if I could use their goats video. So, which I did, and I used goats at one point, but
That's amazing. Well, I'm definitely excited for you. This is the beginning, and it's already, you know, you're already making waves. So I'm looking forward to that, and I can't wait to see what a live show is like with you, because I feel like everything that I feel in a song when I'm listening to the song alone, I feel like it's going to be 10 times more magnified when you're actually performing it live. So
oh, thank you. I can't wait too. I just played kind of my first, it was mostly a stream show, but there were some people in the audience and they were like, it felt insane. So yeah, I hope to see you at some shows too. We'll be announcing some soon.